Welcome to Conversations, the Journey. I'm your host, Ellis Rice, and today we have a wonderful guest, Pam Johnson. I say Pam, I don't know if it's Pamela for sure.
That's fine. Pamela,
all right.
Pam. Yeah.
And we're going to talk about her story. Here at Conversations, we call it an exploration of the epic and the ordinary. You know, to Pamela, her life may just be ordinary. Just her what she does, but to some of us listening to it, she's had quite a journey.
Yes.
So welcome, Pam.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
How you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So on our show, let's talk about the beginning. Where'd you start off? Where you from? Tell us a little bit about the place where you grew up.
Okay. Well, I was born in a Alabama, a small town in Alabama, and my mom and dad, married. I have 2 brothers, 3 sisters, and I would say a farm because my grandparents, they really had the big farm with everything, the bulls and the chickens and the goats and the pigs. And it was only like 5 miles up the road from us, So yeah, I was born in what they call Lineville, Alabama, right outside of Anniston, not far from Birmingham, about an hour and a half from Birmingham, going north. And that's humble beginnings. That's where I started out at. Small town, country gal, garden, farms, and all of that.
You mentioned a lot of people there. You mentioned 2 parents, names, siblings.
Yes. Well, my oldest brother, Harold, who my dad had him before he married my mom. And then I have a sister, Shaquita. And then I have my brother, Earl, my sister, Deborah, then me, and my baby sister, Connie.
And your parents' names?
My parents, well, my dad's name was Leonard Davenport. They call him Mr. Lent. Everybody in the country, they got a nickname in the country. And then my mama's name was Jimmy Louise, or Jimmy Lou. I used to ask my grandmama, why you name her Jimmy? She said, well, she wanted a boy and my granddaddy wanted a girl. So she named her Jimmy and Louise. So they called her Miss Jimmy Lou.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you say your grandparents had a big farm?
My dad's parents.
Okay.
Yeah, they had a farm, they had pigs, and they had a bull named Sunday. And we used to call him looking 2 ways for Sunday because his neck kind of turned that way, and he never would turn it back. But on Sundays, we don't know why his neck would always straighten out on Sundays. Maybe he'd be praying or something. I don't know. But yeah, so they had chickens, and so I learned early on how to catch chickens and how to clean chickens, and I learned how to slop hogs. We used to slap them, but I learned how to slop hogs and
So wait, slopping a hog. What is it?
When the hogs running around in the pig pen and they got all the mud on them and everything, and when they pick out the one they want to catch to barbecue or to cut up, you got to catch the pig, you know what I'm saying? So I learned how to catch pigs. I learned how to milk cows.
What?
So yeah, real country gal, farm girl. I know I'm not really a green thumb. My dad always had a garden, but I would be the one that would be out there plowing. And when everything became ripe, tomatoes and okra, I know how to, cut tomatoes and shuck corn. And Dad used to take me fishing with him.
Yeah.
I loved fish and know how to clean fish, scale them, and everything. So yeah, that's where I derived from.
So what kind of schooling was down there?
Well, of course we had your typical elementary school, kindergarten, elementary school, high school was like 7th through 12th. It was so small. So yeah, all of us finished school, all of us, some of us have college background, most of us went into the military though. My dad never did. He was not a military person, but my oldest brother's retired out of the Army. My oldest sister did 8 years in the Army. Deborah did 9 years in the Air Force, I believe. I did 2 years in the Navy, active duty, and then reserve too. And then my baby sister, she didn't go into the military, and my other brother didn't go. But yeah.
A lot of my brothers went into the military. That was kind of always available back in those days, in the late '60s, Vietnam era.
Right,
So
right.
they made lives of it. I didn't go, but a lot of them did. So, what was the first thing you wanted to be when you were a little kid?
Well, I always wanted to be an actress. I always knew that even though I was kind of introverted growing up, kind of quiet, but I wasn't that athletic. Even though I was cheerleader and played on volleyball team, my sister was more athletic than me. But we sang at a young age. Okay. My mom was in a professional gospel group when she was younger out of Chicago. And
you remember the name?
I don't. I wish I had researched that. But her and Miss Frances Ford, and they all traveled around and sang. And then so like singing comes from my dad's side and my mom's side actually. And so all of us, my mom played piano, my dad played piano by ear. They never took music. My older sister Shaquita play, Earl play, I play. And everybody are singers pretty much. So I come from a very talented family, on both sides, my mom and my dad's side.
So you wanted to be an actor, like a television actor or a stage actor? What?
Well, I just had a passion to just be in front of people and to make people smile and feel good. I never knew if it was going to be comedy or... Because my dad's mother, my big mama, Ada, was actually really comical, very funny. And that's where we got the comical side. And my dad was very funny as well. But he was kind of shy, kind of quiet. But yeah, he had a great sense of humor, And he would be the only one who used to laugh at the crazy stuff I did. My dad thought a lot of stuff was more funny. And then I think my mom did, because I was like, I was like his little pet. Okay. But so I kind of wanted to be an actor. I didn't quite know, at first that it was actually something that I wanted to do as far as stage. But I was used to being in front of a crowd, playing piano since I was like 6 years old. But I actually played for my church. Grew up Apostolic Miracle Temple in Ashland, Alabama. I think I started playing around 12 for my church. Yeah. So,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I was never shy with audiences. I don't see people when I'm on stage or playing. I block them out because the first play I did, I was in first grade. I was 6 years old. And I did a play called Patty Cake. And it was me and this other little Caucasian white girl. And so the teacher, Miss Taylor, I was standing backstage and I was shaking. And so she kind of kneeled down to me and she said, Pamela, when you go out there, just don't look at the people. Just always do things unto God, unto excellence, as if you're doing it unto God. Don't see the people. And I was like, okay, I was so nervous. So, and I just had a little part where I ran out there and took a little do-si-do, a little bow, and then we did the patty cake, bakers, man, bake a cake as quick as you can, roll them up, throw it in the pan. And then we just took our little bow, and I took back off running off stage. And I wasn't nervous, and so I think that has carried along with me over the years as I've done stage, and when I get up and when I sing or when I play in front of people, no matter how big of the crowd, that always come back to me. What she told me, and I don't get nervous in front of a crowd at all.
So you wanted to be an actor, so what kind of work did you go into after school, or you went to school for something?
Well, when I went into the Navy and then I got out to go into the reserve, I went to college and I was a business major. I took drama. I went to Gaston State in Gaston, Alabama. And I wasn't majoring in drama, but I took a lot of drama classes, I remember, electives. And then I met my first husband, who had actually graduated from Gaston State, and he was getting ready to go to Georgia State with a communications degree. And he was a GSU player, which was an actor that did theater productions at Georgia State. And we met early on, you know. I got married. We got married 3 months after we met. I was 19. And we moved to Atlanta. That's how I got to Georgia. And I was just trying to get away from home. I was tired of the country. And I was like, you know, he said, "You'll marry me?" And I said, "Okay, yeah." So, and we went to Georgia, you know. And so he was a GSU player, did a lot of plays, and I would go watch him, you know. And he was like, "You need to get into plays and stuff." And I was like, "Well, you know, I should, you know." And so, and then he got me an agent, and I got on with like 3 different agents in Atlanta for modeling, actually, and acting, and that's how that begun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I met you, what was it, this year?
Mm-hmm.
And you were doing a play. That's how we met.
Right.
And then one of the things you shared with you were a nurse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how did that story come about?
Well, I went to nursing school in the late 90s. I got married in 85.
Okay.
And all of my modeling and acting came from 86, 87, 88 to the early 90s, you know. And at the time, I was still with my first husband. He was the one who would submit back then you had to submit headshots and, you know, stuff. And they would call you up and for an audition or whatever. So that's how I started into modeling and doing, you know, a lot of things actually in acting in Atlanta. I was on with 3 agencies. And then when me and him, we was married like, 85, 90, 10 years, 11 years. So I moved back to Alabama in 1996. And that's when I got on the road with Marvin Cease. I went to a show and I went back to his, I knew the guy, his lead guitar player, because he used to play with Joe Simon. And me and his mom was friends. So they were over there doing a show, and I told Arthur, I want to go on the road with y'all. And he said, "You for real?" He said, "I know you can sing." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I want to go meet Marvin. Take me back there." So he took me back there, you know, because I've always been kind of bold. So he took me back there, and I told Marvin I want to go on the road. And he was like, "You serious?" And he was like, "Well, we doing our studio time in Atlanta on Tuesday. If you serious, come to the studio." He said, "Where you live?" I said, "I live here in Anniston." At the time, I was living in Jacksonville, Alabama. And so I drove over there and went to the studio, and he put me on the mic. And so he let me go on the road with him.
What songs were you singing back in those days?
Well, I think I did just a rendition of Precious Lord or something spiritual, you know, Amazing Grace or something like that. But they were actually making Please Take Me, his song that he made back in, I think that was in 96 when he came out with that. And so I went on the road with him, and that was when Sir Charles Jones was on the road with him at the time. And he lived in Birmingham. And Anderson and Birmingham is not that far, Jacksonville. So I would just go scoop Sir Charles up, and then we would just meet Marvin and do that chitlin circuit, you know.
Okay. Now, for those who don't know what the chitlin circuit is.
That's all of the southeast. They go all the way up the coast. You know, you got your Mississippi, your Louisiana, your Alabama, your Tennessee, your Arkansas, your Texas. You know, that's all Oklahoma. You know, all of that up in there is considered the chitlin circuit.
Why do they call it the chitlin circuit?
You know, maybe they eat a lot of chitlins. I don't know. But I never could figure that out. And I never asked Marvin. But I don't know. Maybe you know.
Why it was the black circuit.
Yeah, well, definitely the black circuit.
It came out of the idea that black people couldn't perform in white places.
Yeah.
So these were the businesses.
Yeah, the businesses.
And the establishment that black people could perform at.
But little do people know, and I didn't even know until I got on the road in blues. Of course, Marvin was blues. We didn't call it Southern soul as much as they do nowadays. Right. It was the blues. And, you know, Memphis, Tennessee, and all those areas. White people love the blues. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that until I got on the road with actually when I got on the road with Marvin and Bobby Rush. Bobby Rush actually would have sellout crowds in Arkansas. I mean, we did a what they call a Memphis Blues biscuit show concert one time in Osceola. I think it was called Osceola, Arkansas, and it was 60-some thousand people there.
Wow.
and it was predominantly white people. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, I never knew that white people really love the blues like that, until I got on the road in blues. And so, and we did do shows like in Detroit, I did at the Fox. We would go to, because Marvin was from Charleston, South Carolina. That's where he was born. So we did shows there in Charleston a lot, So when I got off the road with Marvin, after that ended, I went on the road, like I said, with Bobby Rush. Pretty much I danced. I was Sue. I don't know if you're familiar with that song, Sue. I was his Sue on stage sometimes. And I did a lot of the commissary for Bobby. Bobby Rush, he's the type of performer that even if the crowd is not there, he's still gonna perform.
I saw him first up in Reno Blues Festival.
Okay.
Maybe 10 years ago. And I didn't know him. Now I go any place I can find a blues festival. I'm go.
Okay.
And he put on a show.
Yeah, he does.
And then got to actually hang out at the after thing.
Yeah.
And got to talk to him a little bit. I think he's from Jackson, Mississippi.
Jackson, that's right.
Yeah.
Harriet Avenue. I can go straight to his house. I still know where he lives. Now, did he do the show with the draws, with the big girl with the panties? That's just one of his favorites.
He had these women on stage
they were
with
dancing,
these butts, and he would just stand there and just point at it.
Yeah.
Just point at him sometimes.
I know all of them. Actually, they're still there. Scan been on the road with him because I think his wife passed away now. Goodness, she was on the road with Bobby Rush when I was on the road in the late 90s. She been out there with Bobby. Bruce is still there. He's been his drummer for over 40-something years.
Yeah.
Because, Bobby Rush is pushing 90 years old.
Oh, yeah, he's still playing.
He just came from Spain. Because I still keep in touch. A lot of times, the ones that I was on the road with, that we still keep in touch with each other. When they come out west, they'll contact me, because he did that movie Dolomite with Eddie Murphy.
Right.
And they came out and they was doing an award show that's during that same time. And when they came out and they invited me to come to the show, and the award show was here in Vegas. God, I forgot. That was like 2016 maybe. It's been a while. But yeah, we still keep in touch.
So you've been in the game. You done
just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So just jumping back a little bit.
Okay.
Along the way, who did you look up to? Who gave you advice when you might have had a tough time?
Well, just in my life, or you mean when I was on
life.
the road?
All of that's your life.
Well, yeah. When I had a tough time,
We call this section Mother Wit.
My mother.
Who looked out for you, and who did you learn from?
My mama was a praying mama.
Okay.
I know that. Just like me, I pray for my kids all the time. My mother was a praying mother. My daddy wasn't so much of a church-going man, but he was a humble, loving, kind-hearted, very giving, great-spirited. I don't even know if my daddy had any enemies. Everybody in my hometown, I always spoke highly of my daddy. He was just a good person. And he was very supportive of me with anything that I wanted to do. If that's what you want to do, you can do it. So he gave me a lot of my confidence.
Okay.
And as growing up, and then as I got older, because my mom was a minister, so she wasn't really into the going on the road thing. Okay. In the blues arena, because she was into the church more so. But she kind of came around, after I got off the road with Marvin and got on with Bobby Rush. She was kind of like, oh, okay, well, this is just something she just gonna do, so, and they didn't hear anything bad, that about me being out there or anything, and I just God just kept me, and I didn't want to shame them, I just was doing my thing, and I was enjoying it, even though I had been married and I had kids, but the way it was set up, I'm usually gone, like we was going like Thursdays through Sundays, and I usually be back home, or either Friday, Saturday, Sunday, according to where our shows would be, I think I stayed gone one time. We did a video when I was with Marvin in Nacogdoches, Texas, and I think I stayed gone about a week at the most, and so yeah. She became very supportive of me after a while,
Mm-hmm. Who do you think you learned the most from?
Who did I learn the most from? I would say when it comes to music and the industry
Okay.
and being on the road, um, I learned a lot from Marvin Cease. Marvin was a true businessman on the road. He was kind of hard. Some people don't understand. If those promoters didn't come up with his money, Marvin wasn't doing no shows. He kept it business. Bobby Rush was, of course, business because he'd been out there a long time. But Bobby was more mellow. He would bend a little bit more with people. When they were struggling to come up with monies, he would perform anyway. Marvin wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Marvin made everybody account for everything. I was the one that kept the money on the road in the briefcase. Me and Mr. Eddie, which was his assistant manager, road manager. He was a road manager, I was assistant. But they let me hold the money because a lot of them kind of like to gamble a little bit much. And he said he had never had an assistant road manager or anybody on the road. Marvin did that. His money was never wrong. It always was right. I was taught to be honest. From my upbringing. You don't steal, you don't lie, you don't cheat. Because all that stuff it'll come back on you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I learned a lot being out there on the road. I learned that to stay in integrity, because no matter what you do, God is always watching. He sees everything. Mama might not see you, your daddy might not see you, but God sees everything. And I walked with a lot of integrity on the road as well. They still to this day call me Lady PJ. Bobby Rush gave me that nickname because he said you always carry yourself like a lady.
Nice.
And he told my mama that one night when I actually put on a show in Anderson, Alabama. And I had a band at the time, and they opened for Bobby Rush. And he came. My mom came with my oldest sister.
Oh, nice.
And he got on stage, and he thanked my mom for raising such a lovely, nice young lady. He said, "I never seen her drunk. I never seen her drunk. I never seen her with men. Said she's just such a lady." And he said, and for that I gave her that name, Lady PJ, and that's how I got my name, Lady PJ. Bobby Rush named me that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you got a blues name.
Yes. I got to put some music with it.
Oh, you good. It's just time. So I think when we've spoken, you say you have a son who produces music. He's got some music out there now.
Yeah, I got actually 3 sons that's into music.
What?
Allure the writer. He got he wrote, produced his own CD that's out now and called Change Yourself. He's on all streaming platforms. And then
Say his name again?
Allure, the writer.
Okay.
He's out of Atlanta.
Okay.
And then my oldest son, Sinatra Awesome, it's spelled OSM. He writes and produces his own music, and he's actually doing a documentary right now with like 17 episodes that's going to be coming out at the end of this year with the likings of the Tony Award winner theater, Mr. Freddie Hendricks, that just won the Tony for the theater. That was my son's YEA teacher, Youth Ensemble of Atlanta. He was so he's got some work that he's doing with him, and then my baby boy, Dre the Dreamer. They call him Gap God. He's got Gap TV on Instagram and X and all the rest. And he's 23, so he's in that younger genre of rappers, but it's all positive pretty much. And I just support all of them in their efforts and their dreams to, they're not out here robbing and stealing and going on. So I support my sons, and everything that they're doing, and we're believing that it's gonna pay off one day.
So what do you pass off to them as your wisdom, your words of learning when they say, "Mama, what about this?" What do you tell them?
Well, I tell them to always stay true to who they really are. Don't try to be something or somebody that you're not. Keep your originality and your creativity. Don't ever be a sellout. Don't sell your soul or yourself for any price for somebody else's ideas that they want you to be or do or say. and always walk with some sort of, I don't like to say convictions, but judge yourself, first, because other people are going to judge you anyway, whether you're doing good, bad, or ugly. But always ask yourself, why am I doing this? Am I doing this for the right reasons? And make sure that it's something that can keep your conscience clear, because you got to sleep with you at night. So
that's good advice for anybody.
Oh yeah, I tell myself that every day, because we all got someone we got to answer to, right. And it's the Most High, So,
well, that's a pretty good explanation of your journey. You gave us a good picture of where you began and who you are. Add another section here. It's a single question section, and then and then one more little section.
That's fine.
If you had all the resources and influence, somebody added that to it.
Okay.
In the world, you had it like that. You can make one thing different. What would you do?
In the world?
In the world.
There would not be not one homeless person that's hungry or living out on the street.
Yeah. That would be your thing.
That would be my thing. I would clear and clean that up and make sure that everybody had food to eat every day, healthy food. Mm-hmm. Make sure that they had medical where they could go get themselves taken care of, mentally, physically, just wellness. I would do that for everybody. I wouldn't want to see anyone out. Yeah. That's kind of hard. I would do that. I definitely would.
That's a beautiful vision.
Yes, sir.
So I asked you to write down a couple of things before we start. I'm gonna pick up my little pad here.
All right.
I call this quick hits.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna say the word.
Where you got that from? The casino? Quick hits. No,
I don't know.
It's a game called Quick Hits. I'm just joking. It's a game called Quick Hits. I don't know when. So go ahead.
You wrote down family.
Yes.
Talk about it.
To me, family is everything. Might not always get along with them, but I love all of my sons, and I'm thankful and grateful for all of them and my grandkids. I feel that you should be able to always call on somebody in your family when you need somebody to talk to or somebody to pray with or pray for, because you can't change DNA.
Right. Well, now you put down here 4 sons, 7 grandkids, 4 girls, 3 boys.
That's right. That's right. I have 4 sons. I never had a daughter, but those boys giving them to me now, which I always knew that. I always envisioned myself as I grow old, surrounded by a lot of grandgirls.
Okay.
And that was always my vision, and it's happening.
Are any of them here or they
all
back
of my
south?
children are in Alabama and Atlanta.
Okay.
In the South.
Okay. You wrote down a Pentecostal Apostolic Miracle Temple.
Yep, that's where it all started for me. My foundation about the Lord. Growing up in a they called it sanctified back then, but sanctified church. But yeah, it gave me a foundation and some roots to grow from. Everybody started somewhere, and going to church, studying the Word, praising God, worshiping God, thanking God, knowing how to pray and learning how to fast, and it all starts somewhere. And my mom, she was a biggie on church. You might go out to the rec center on Saturday night. When you getting up going to church Sunday morning, I don't care. And I did my sons the same way. So everybody needs a foundation, and that was our foundation.
Okay. Michael Schultz.
Michael Schultz was the first movie director that put me in my first movie, Living Large, in 1991. First black director he's still living to this day. I believe he's like 89, maybe 90 years old. But yeah, he saw something in me. I really didn't even audition my first husband was working on that movie set as a videographer, and he took my headshot and showed it to him, and he was like, "She definitely got the look that I'm looking for. So can you bring her down here, bring her in?" And I was working, and so he called me and asked me could I get off my job, my first husband, and I left. And actually, when I went in, I was reading up against a girl who had went to NYU, and she had just got a degree in acting, and so she was like, she really wanted that part, and I was like, well, if it's meant for me, I get it. He wanted me, so I went in and read. I had to break down and cry from the drop of a hat with no tear gas. He said, we're not giving you tear gas. So I just thought about my grandma when she passed, and it just came over me, and I started crying, and then, I got sent out the room, and she went in and did her thing and cried, and then he came out and he shook her hand and thanked her, and he told me I got the part. And that did a lot for me when it came to acting. It wasn't a major role. It was a principal with T.C. Carson, from Living Single. And that was his first major feature film. Yeah.
Okay.
T.C. Carson. And so I enjoyed it. And he gave me some little, gems to carry with me. He told me to continue on. He said, you need to continue on as an actress. And he said, I see something there. Nice. He said, you're a little bit of a novice. He said, but it's okay. He said, just continue on in your craft.
There you go.
Yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg.
I love Whoopi Goldberg. I really would want to meet Whoopi Goldberg one day. Whoopi and Lucille Ball actually are the two funniest women to me that I ever seen. Aside from my grandmother, my big mama Ada. She was real funny. But Lucille Ball, Whoopi Goldberg made me feel like, I want to make the world laugh like they have or like they do. Because it's so natural. It's so genuine. It was, to me. And Whoopi Goldberg, she's very intelligent. I love her commentary. I watch The View a lot. She's on my list. I'm not going to say bucket list. She's on my list to meet one day and let her know how much encouraging. And she's an EGOT,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe Whoopi is an EGOT. Okay. I think she's won an Emmy, a Grammy, Oscar, and Tony as well.
Everything.
I believe she is. But I want to meet Whoopi. She's very encouraging to me. I've watched Sister act probably 60 to 70 times.
Wow.
And every time I love it even more every time I watch it. That and 5 Heartbeats. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Nursing.
Well, I helped my mom take care of my grandmama, and that was something that I had to, after I got off the road, I said, I got to go back to college. I worked in insurance, managed care, so I knew medical terminology, so I said, I want to go back to school and just get a skill, a profession, and I did. I applied, took the test, and I got in, and that's what I did, and eventually passed my boards, and 22 years, just now retiring. I still keep my license, but I am in a state of I'm gonna do what I want to do and what I can do and what I has always dreamed to do. And God has opened up that door for me to do those things.
So your journey brought you from the deep, deep South, and now you're in Vegas. How does that last little part happen?
Well, as a nurse, I came out here on my first travel contract as a travel nurse in 2013. And when I got out here in 2013, I had a friend, he's deceased now, but he was a movie director. He lived in Beverly Hills. And he had aspirations to put me in some things as well. But I got out here and I took, my contract and just worked, and then went back and forth from Atlanta. I drove out here alone 5 times from Atlanta by myself. I love driving cross country. I always have. And so I drove out here, and then I went back and Then I came back, and Antonio Fargas eventually cast me in one of his plays he was doing in 2016. And it's so interesting how I got in that play. I ran into, I don't know if you know Jean Claude.
I met him.
You know Jean Claude? Me and Jean Claude used to do theater together in Atlanta back in the 90s. And I was at Palace Station. And he was there with a friend of his. And he walked past me, and I looked at him. And he kind of stopped. And then, because he's older and had, the gray hair now. And he looked at me. He said, you look like a woman I used to act with in Atlanta named Pam. Are you Pam? I said, John Claude? And he was like, yeah. So that's how we met in Palace Station. And he was like, I am in a play with Antonio Fargas, 2 Trains Running. He was like, I'm going to call him and ask him, can I bring you to rehearsal? I was like, no, John, I haven't been on stage in over 20 years. I was like, no, I don't want to, I can't. He was like, no, just come read. So he called, and Antonio told him to bring me. And I went, and he let me read. And I wasn't really even serious. And Antonio was like, okay, you're going to get serious now? So I said, okay. So I got serious, and I read, and that's when he looked at me a second time and cast me to, he said, you got something, and that was my first play that I was in. He kind of threw me in, Antonio did, at the last minute, and had to learn that blocking, and I was working a lot back then as a nurse, 12-hour shifts, and I was like, Lord, can I do this for real? Antonio said, do you think you can do it? And I said, I think I can do it after I got the script. And then he said, you got to believe now. So I learned the blocking, learned the lines, and I think I pulled it off. I got thrown in that play 3 weeks before Tech Week. I'll never forget. But I always have worked better under pressure when it comes to acting. For some reason, I don't know why that is. Yeah. So, and I've ended up doing 9 plays now since that play. I've ended up doing 9 plays.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
So, Lady PJ, right?
Lady PJ.
What's next for you?
Pamela Joy.
What's next?
Well, I just really want to get my name out here more for hosting shows, birthday parties rather. And, I want to host live, concerts. Just really want to help promote myself, more via online. I have an agent looking at me in LA right now. I sent some stuff to just off the top of my head. I really wasn't serious. When I'm not real serious about stuff, I don't know what it is. I just do at the spur of the moment, and it comes back to me. I wasn't as serious as I should have been because I got some things they want me to do, and they want me to come out there for a meet and greet. But they're looking at me kind of heavily to sign me on for more comedy and some go-sees for acting as well. And also the things that my sons are doing, I'll be a big part in the things that they're doing. Nice. Their videos with their music and stuff. And, I just want to do more plays. I love stage, and eventually I want my own line of shades that I'm working on come out, Lady PJ. I have the prototype now, and I have this Pam's Punch. It's my own ingredients that I want to put on the market in 2027, So I got some things in the works that I'm really believing God for to help me, with the investments and everything it takes to get there. And it's just one day at a time, one day at a time.
Well, thank you. Thanks for sharing your story on a little
Thank
show.
Thank you for having me.
Anything else you want to say?
I just want to say thank you again, and I appreciate you. I thank God for you, and I know that you are such a talented man. always have been. I've learned so much from you with your direction in acting, and I really, really appreciate it. I do, and you're good at what you do, and you know what you're doing. Y'all better check him out. He know what he's doing now.
Well, thank you very much for that, and thank you out there for watching our show, Conversations: The Journey. We'll be back the next time. Peace.
Peace.